Hi everyone, welcome to GT Time. I'm your moderator, Kyle Bossman, and joining us as always is our uniquely talented and knowledgeable panel, including Brandon Jones.
Yeah.
Daniel Bloodworth.
Hello.
And Michael Damiani.
I think one you should have done one week where you did it like the Smash Brothers announcer. Bossman.
Yeah. Brandon Jones.
Bloodworth.
Yeah.
Jones. Like that.
Damiani actually did that better.
Then you could be like, since I have 3 syllables, you could be like Great Ninja. Damiani.
It's okay, you did that better. Damiani, you're very good at the Smash Bros. Voice. I always wanted to tell you that.
We have sound effects with that.
If it's been like a few weeks and you're just now tuning into GT Time, Damiani's leaving us. This is like his second to last GT Time episode.
He's leaving the
you
state of
think-
California. He's not leaving game trailers.
Right.
I tried to kick him out of game trailers and it didn't.
What did he say?
didn't
He said,
take.
you can't do that to me?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Some weird policies going on that Damiani, some contracts Damiani signed in blood a long time ago. nothing we can do. Should do a Pop Fiction episode just on Damiani.
Just do a pop
career.
fiction on the 7.8.
We're never doing that. What's your jacket, speaking about 7.8? What is this?
Oh, it's not a Wind Waker jacket if that's what you're asking.
I know it's not a Wind Waker jacket. For the people who are only listening to this as a podcast, what are
It's
you
a
wearing
Zelda
today?
track jacket.
Where did it come from?
Online, and forget where I bought it.
So it wasn't from the
I
the Nintendo store thing?
No, it wasn't from Nintendo store. I forget who I saw who had one, or I forget how I heard about them. All I know is I got it online. They sold it at some event that IGN did at Anaheim Convention Center in 2005 when I first moved out here.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of my other friends got it there. And Reggie wore this at some event, I forget.
That's it.
Nice.
So, Reggie, you're wearing Reggie's
Reggie
jacket right
is a trendsetter, yeah.
Well, actually, that does tie kind of into what I was thinking. So the Nintendo store, once upon a time, didn't exist. But a lot of that stuff that ended up getting sold there, it used to be sold, there's like a store like within Nintendo headquarters. So they're
I
like
didn't know
the
about that.
only way you would ever be able to buy that stuff, and they also have like super discounts on games there too, would be like to be able to visit Nintendo headquarters. And so generally it was just for employees, but anyone else that would like come to visit the company
Field
could
trip.
check it out.
So when you were at
Or-
Planet GameCube, did you ever do that?
Yeah, I forget what I got there, but I remember, I definitely got some stuff. When
Their
I went
own
to Nintendo.
secret store inside of their headquarters.
Yeah, and then eventually they were like, we should open up a thing in Times Square, and there they go.
Well, first it was the Pokemon Center.
Was it first?
Yeah. It was a Pokemon Center, and then they converted it.
Well, if you were a Nintendo Power subscriber, they also had the Power Supply catalog.
Yeah, that
Like every quarter.
Yeah, that's how you had that Yoshi.
Yeah.
I love the Yoshi. That's the Yoshi.
They used to have
of that
all
Yoshi.
types of cool stuff in there.
We should move on. We should do our podcast, but I do always enjoy learning where Damiani's things come from. Let's do some corrections. Begin corrections music. Oh boy, quite a few. So this one's all on me. You know, I was talking to like the last part of Metal Gear Solid 4 is mashing the square button. Mm-hmm. I thought that part comes after the final boss fight.
Oh, see, I didn't interpret it that way.
Yeah. I had the whole chronology messed up. So isn't it ridiculous? Metal Gear Solid 4 almost has a beautiful ending, and then it rips you out of it and makes you have this ridiculous boss fight.
You're talking
Wait,
about like
now you're
on top of the
complaining-
submarine, like the
Future corrections music. Kyle's opinion is wrong.
Well, my opinions are frequently wrong. Are
Are you complaining about the actual boss fight now?
Yeah.
Before you're complaining about the microwave.
I love the microwave part.
So you don't like liquid versus solid. Old
That's
Snake
not what that
versus
is. No.
liquid.
It's a delusional
Ocelot.
old man who like pretended to be liquid
Okay.
to trick everyone.
So you really don't, you don't
including
like
the
how
Patriots.
it's like a brawler fight going back to the end of Metal Gear Solid on top of Metal Gear
I think
Gear Rex.
it's a cute thing to end a
And then they
video
have
game
the-
with, but
they
I
have
think
the-
inside the story it's not
And
motivating.
he goes through the different phases of Ocelot or
No,
the
don't
different
don't
games.
even bring up story motivation in Metal Gear.
Okay.
What are you? What?
Yeah, well, that's-
you
And
it
got
plays
you
the
got
music,
through you got through Metal Gear
fight.
1, 2, 3, and 4, and you hit the logic wall.
Seriously.
You hit the natural story progression wall
You
on the two
fight
guys on top of the
to
sub.
Such good music.
Yeah.
Okay, Capcom has
Bye.
announced the dates for each chapter of RE Revelations 2. I said most episodic games don't say we'll have a game here, 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 and here because of like what Telltale does do. They don't do that, but with our Revelations 2, they're saying this is when this game. That's chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4.
Cool.
So good on
That
that.
was pretty fresh news too.
That was a revelation right there.
All right. Spectating is already available in Dota 2. You know how we were like, oh, in Dota 2, when tournaments, you'll be able to stream? Like, you can already do that within the game's client.
Cool.
Yeah. Brandon wore white socks with his brown shoes.
Uh-oh.
What?
Are you doing that again?
Yeah.
Right there.
I got a problem?
Yeah, everyone.
Did you not see that?
How's that a
Everybody was
correction?
people commenting.
It's a very serious issue.
Am I offending someone? Yeah.
Yes,
Do I
you're
need to-
offending a fair
Do I need,
amount
I
of
need to wear
people.
black like you?
I
I
guess.
think it's like some kind of fashion sin.
I think if you wore green, that'd be cool too. I don't know. Everyone has a big problem with the white socks.
Whoa. Oh, jeez. Wow. Thank you for bringing it to my attention.
I mean, to me, my impression of
He had
Brandon is that he doesn't care.
He had an obligation to report it to you.
I had an obligation. Oh my gosh. End correction music.
No, that's actually very important to me. I will, this is it. This is the last time you'll ever see white socks with these shoes, ever.
Oh
Over.
man, now I'm mad.
The era's over.
So what are you're gonna go home and buy a bunch of black socks?
I have a bunch of black socks.
Okay.
White socks are like, you know, I actually enjoy this brand of white socks.
I know.
They're nice and cozy.
And then you let some internet comments make you change your socks?
Yes, because, I mean, there's some things that I know things about. I don't know jack about fashion. I mean, I'm not gonna.
I don't. None of us do. Get out of here.
So, yeah. I heard it's like your sock has to match your belt or something like that. Isn't that true?
Who knows?
Or something? Or like there's something, your sock's gotta
Don't know
match something.
anything about that.
But yeah, I'm not gonna.
Don't wear belts.
And it's like perspective, you know? So like I've definitely did some just plays and like my socks are like right out there in front. Because I'm like crossing my leg and the camera's like real close on us.
Yeah.
It's just like, socks, what's up?
These aren't cheap socks, by the way. You can't pick it up through the lens,
They're not, like,
especially if you're
super
just podcasting.
expensive
No,
socks.
these are like you have some crazy stitching on
You can
these
buy
socks.
expensive white socks.
I believe you have. These seem like expensive white socks
Well, get a good look, Kyle.
because they're gone.
Soon we're gonna see these socks again.
So what we know about video games. So we should talk about video games. PSX happened this weekend, and so did the Game Awards.
Yeah.
I want to talk about these things. I know that it's now a week old news, but I feel like it's all still worth talking about. I want to know your impressions of things. So I wrote down a bunch, a mini list of headlines from this event, and I want to talk about those things and see where you all feel about them. Damiani already shaking his head. What's wrong?
There's only one moment that mattered during PSX.
We'll get to it. I'm very curious what you think is the one
You
moment.
guys
that
I'm
can-
pretty
you guys
sure
can
I know what
You guys can talk about all you want.
Trollmiani is talking about.
Before we get deep into it, I want to start with a new segment called "Look What I Did." In this segment, we
That
look
doesn't
at.
sound like a news segment. That sounds like an ego trip. I don't know.
Kyle, this whole show
Yeah.
podcast is going to become new segments eventually.
Yeah. So in Look What I Did, we look at something that I said out loud on this podcast and turned out to be true. So let's turn back the clock. Let's look to the episode that happened amidst TGS, where I said, may I make a bold prediction?
Said no.
Yoshinori Ono comes out and says, Street Fighter V is a PlayStation exclusive. That is my bold prediction.
And you know what else you've said?
What?
Last Guardian going to be here. Last Guardian's going to be there. Last Guardian's going to be here.
That's not the point of the segment.
How many times have you said Last Guardian's happening?
Okay, so now we come back in and everybody's like, oh my goodness, Kyle, you called it. Look what you did.
See, if we had a segment called "Look What Kyle Didn't Do," that would be like the whole show.
All right, well,
we could just talk on that. about that
I just
forever.
think it's pretty cool that I called that one out.
I mean, you have to own up to it because you just mentioned it. So I'm assuming this clip exists. I haven't seen it though. I don't remember that moment, but that actually happened.
Yeah, it happened.
I'll give you a golf clap for that.
Oh,
Kyle.
thank you.
That's great.
Thanks.
That's pretty sweet.
Damiani, anything you have
It would
to
have been
say?
impressive if you made a 10-year-old post and you necro bumped it because you made a prediction.
Yeah, this
and
is me
came
necro
true.
bumping it. I'm necro bumping
Yeah,
it
from
right now.
what, 3 months ago?
From 3 months ago.
I thought this was a necro bump. Now, is this kind of like 100 monkeys writing Hamlet with typewriters kind of a thing where like sooner or later you were bound to get something right? Like, did you say that because you're like, I've done my homework. I stayed up all night last night trying to figure this out. I got it. I know what they're doing. Or like, hey, this just popped in my head. What if this happened?
It was because Ono was being fishy. It definitely seemed like he was being very close to Sony for, I think, like the past year. Something's been going on, and I
Well,
took a
also
stab
got
at that.
deep down. You didn't think that was?
No,
What he
because he's like not in charge of Deep Down. He's the face of Deep Down, but he's
Yeah.
not like responsible for developing it.
Okay.
Oh, and I think around then he announced that he's going to some other studio. He said he's like leaving the one in Canada or whatever, and I think I forget.
Well, yeah, I don't think he was. Was he physically at the one in Canada?
Let's talk about Street Fighter V.
Okay.
Let's talk about that. What, Damiani? What?
Fighter 4.
No, we're talking about
Fighter
Street
4,
Fighter
son.
V now. This is 5.
Doesn't work. I can't do my Street Fighter 4 goes with everything anymore.
Yeah.
5 just doesn't work.
Yeah, no, Street Fighter V sounds so good. That's such a good sounding title.
Although I do want
Yeah.
a follow up to the person out there who made that hype video that's on YouTube. That's called Hype 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 Hype. It's just two guys in a car driving along in the rain, going to pick up Street Fighter 4, and they're like going nuts about it. I want a sequel to that video. Such a good video.
So there's two people on the way to pick up Street Fighter
Yes.
5.
Well,
So
4.
to fill everyone in who hasn't, I guess, heard of this news, Street Fighter 5 it has been announced for PlayStation 4 and PC.
And cross-platform play.
Yes.
Yeah.
And will not be appearing on any other console.
And
It is
will
not a timed exclusive.
Yes.
Adam Boy specifically said will not appear on any other console ever.
Ultra Street Fighter 5, however.
Ultra Street Fighter 4.
Super Street Fighter 5
right,
Arcade
right.
Edition 2017 version 2.1.
I don't see why we make those jokes all the time. You know what I mean? We throw a lot of titles into Street Fighter.
Because Street Fighter 4 was released like 100 times.
It was released 3 times.
Street Fighter 4,
times
Super
or
Street
4
Fighter
times?
4,
Yeah.
Super Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition, Super Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition 2012.
No, you can't buy those in boxes.
So they're just,
still
So that doesn't
Some
count
of
as
them
getting
were
released multiple times. That's like getting an update. Like you got a
things go
2.1.
digital, so we don't count them anymore.
We don't. No, that doesn't
okay.
count as a re-release of the game.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we got cynicism there. I'm just gonna write down cynics. Do you think the exclusivity is a big deal?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Absolutely.
It's like we're back in the PlayStation 2 days finally.
What do you mean by that?
So everyone thought like console exclusivity was going away. Like it didn't fiscally make sense to a company
I thought
to
that.
release that.
You're right.
However, it's a different situation. The thing we always overlooked is what happens if a company doesn't think it's like financially possible to release a game anymore. Like Ono kept saying like, oh, we really want to do Street Fighter 5, but I don't think we have enough money to do it anymore. Like it's gonna cost too much. It's gonna cost too much. So it's like, all right, you guys are Capcom. What are you talking about? You can't do this. So the thing is pretty obvious that Sony is like, hey, like we know you want to release this multi-platform, but like you could still release it on PC. We don't care because there seems to be like that's PC market. If we give you some money to help you finish developing this or to continue developing it, will you agree to console exclusivity forever on our system? That's like I see. I know on one end I hate that like people don't have the choice to play it on whatever system, but I kind of like when people keep clamoring for, man, I miss the days of PS2. I hate all this digital content. I hate all this like DLC and microtransactions. It's like, well, this is kind of like what it was back then. You cared about a system more because you had console exclusivity. Like, man, my PlayStation 2, I can only get these games on here. Like,
I promise there's still going to be DLC on this. What do you mean by that?
No, I mean like the feel of having games. Like it felt like everything was not because what's the opposite of homogenized? Like every system had like every game on it. There's like except for the console exclusives from the first party. I hated how that was the direction gaming was going. It's like you can get any game on any system except for the console exclusives.
Yeah. I mean,
and it's like, what's the difference anymore other than like now it's you just like a first party or whatever. Why would just have one
basically,
console that has every game on it? Just make one console. Why even need multiple consoles anymore?
Our awards. I mean, if you want to talk about we're in the process of choosing our awards. In the past couple of years, we changed that structure of our awards because people would just attacking us. They were so sick of seeing the same awards go out to best Xbox game and best PlayStation game and and best PC game, like all getting the same games under those awards, and it just became repetitive. And then because we didn't want to give anything away, that we put up 4 awards at the same time that all look like the same video.
I'll tell you what, I was one of those.
And so
angry
now
people.
it's they're best exclusive awards just because of that.
Yeah, I was so mad that I think it was an E3 one year, and everything went to BioShock Infinite. Best Xbox 360 game, BioShock Infinite, and I knew at that point I was like, you idiots, that's not going to be what you think it is. GameTrailers.com.
You idiots.
You idiots. I wish I could have been in that room, just crossing my arms, saying you idiots.
Oh, Kyle,
What?
I want to hear you say that really say that during like an award thing. But I mean, this thing.
What do you mean? What I do that.
No,
We're in
More often.
deliberations for game trailers. Best
of
of
2014 awards.
oh man,
awards.
I still think you should have made a Final Bossman over your rant yesterday or the day before. I think you need to turn that into a Final Bossman.
That stuff's best kept private. We have a lot of. I get angry. I get
But on
really
the subject,
heated.
like as I said, like I'm torn about this. On one hand, I kind of do yearn for the older days, but at the same time, it does kind of like people made rant videos like when Tomb Raider got announced as Xbox exclusive. Like same thing, people came out, or like when Bayonetta got announced as Wii U exclusive. Like I liken this more to the Bayonetta 2 situation because
I think it's
Bayonetta 2 wouldn't
absolutely
exist. This, I think people have a little bit more grounding playing because we do not know if this wouldn't exist without Sony's intervention. Like we don't know the full story behind this, at least unless haven't read it yet. It seems like Capcom could have still made Street Fighter V and could have put it on multiple platforms if they really wanted to.
I don't think it would happen this soon.
I wouldn't happen this soon, maybe. Maybe. I don't know. But I think they're like, man, let's take the money up front this time. Like, fighting games are like iffy now. Like, people still love to watch them play at tournaments. They love watching them on Twitch, but they don't sell as well as they used to. They just don't.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, like with Killer Instinct introducing the whole, well, maybe we just make it a free-to-play game and then you pay for the characters and stuff and the season stuff, like that different direction that like Killer Instinct and Microsoft are trying with that game.
Tekken does that as
And
well.
Tekken's doing that. It's
Yeah.
like I think maybe they were like worried, like we don't know if that's like viable enough or not, like, or we don't want to burn our bridges with the community by doing that.
Can they make an adapter? They can't, but I'm just saying. Can they make an adapter where you just stick quarters into your system?
I'll make you one. What do you want that for?
That's how you play for fighting games.
Yeah. I
Oh,
see.
it's a joke.
So you're
It's
actually
like
using
locked
actual
and you have to
payment.
mail it.
You-
in.
Oh man, could you imagine an online play if you had to like do virtual quarters? You had to like have a wallet, and you had to like you had to use real money to do like a virtual quarter to coin up for like the next match.
I may be mistaken. I think that's how the Tekken Online works.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man.
I do believe it's basically virtual
The
quarter.
act of putting in. Oh man,
Yeah.
virtual quarters.
Yeah. I mean, it works. I mean, whatever. Let's talk about another game announcement. Drawn to Death. David
What is
Jaffe's
this?
game. This is David Jaffe's game. It was revealed at the end of the PSX keynote.
With a lot of F words.
Big reveal, preceded by many F words. It is a 4-player shooting game.
Yeah, you shoot stuff.
Are there 2 teams of 2, or is it everyone?
What I played, it was free for all.
Okay,
4
you want to
players
kill those 3 other people.
killing everybody at the end, and they add up the scores.
I'd say that the game's main sell is its art style. I'd say if you ask me like what makes this game unique, I'd say it's its art style. It's all made like a little idiot's notebook drawings. Shouldn't have used idiot. That's me getting editorial.
See, You're an idiot.
Yeah.
There you go.
It is.
Yeah,
It
mine
is,
is-
it is
A teenager's little notebook doodles,
yeah, it's not a sequel to Drawn to Life, just so everyone knows.
Right?
but it is using that same phrase for a pun.
Brandon played it.
Yeah, there you go. End of discussion.
Well, no, let's talk about the announcement. Let's talk about if that announcement is a big deal and what kind of impact it has. It's still a news podcast. Is this news?
I mean, it was a good announcement to have and to make. It wasn't a show-ending worthy announcement. Something else should have ended the show.
What should have ended the show?
What should have ended it? Should Uncharted been at the end?
no, I
think
always like kicking it off.
You always open
Yeah.
with Uncharted. I think Bloodborne should have been at the end.
Bloodborne would probably been.
Bloodborne had a sick demo.
Yeah. I don't know if it was
Maybe
still.
Tim Schafer and then Bloodborne? Because I like that. I thought Day of the Tentacle
What
was
else
my
would have been good at the
Yeah,
end?
that was
my big
cool.
Oh yeah,
announcement.
Day of the Tentacle. That's
That was
great.
so amazing.
I love the fact that these old adventure games that I didn't get to play are coming out now because it was just like that gap. Like I had the Commodore 64, I played Maniac Mansion, but then like my parents weren't able to buy a new computer and upgrade it, and so I missed out on some of those.
So the way my mind works, Grim Fandango, slightly remastered. It's I guess we can call it remastered. Coming.
For sure.
Then they announced Day of the Tentacle. So we're almost establishing a pattern. Do you think this will keep going? Are there more games to do?
Maniac
You know
Mansion.
Maniac Mansion? They only did the first 2 Monkey Islands. You could go back and do, well, they kind of started to dip in quality a little bit once you get into the 3rd and 4th and 5th.
There's a
4
fifth?
5? 4?
Well, actually, we saw at Game Awards, we saw King's Quest.
Right.
So they could do something with the old ones, even if they don't really do a lot of remastering to them, just to put them out in like a new package that would be Yeah.
You want to play the old King's Quests?
Oh yeah. I mean, I've jumped into them now and then for countdowns and stuff. Yeah.
I think you couldn't do that on PS4, unless it like takes voice commands. There's like I think there's little
Voice commands.
yeah, like pick up Apple.
Oh.
Hello,
Yeah,
PlayStation,
yeah. I don't
pick
know
up
if you would
Apple.
put it on PS4, but you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
if they could just like do something to kind of like really, you know, kind of ride on that of the new one coming out, like get people familiar with the old ones.
Oh, okay, but anyway, well, let's talk about King's Quest and let's talk about this. I mean, big adventure games announcements at the Game Awards. We saw King's Quest. It was announced before, but we saw for the first time this game in action, and it was I'll say pretty incredible. Do you all feel the same way?
Yeah, I mentioned this before previously on something else we shot, but my wife's a big King's Quest fan.
My
She was
wife.
my wife, and she was a little disappointed that there was not a lot of there was adventuring, but not in the traditional adventure game sense. Like you never see a text prompt, you never see him pick up an item or look like
Right.
he's solving a puzzle. It's very actiony. It's very like jumping around, and he pulls the bow at one point, and it's like, oh, will there be actual manual aiming, or like, do you just click on
Yeah,
something?
well, I do
or-
think what's interesting is what Kyle was saying about some of the older ones is that there's, you know, like there's a lot of verbs. There's a lot of verb usage, and that's the thing because like adventure games started as text adventure games. And yeah, if you're trying to maximize and go multi-platform, as we were saying, then yeah, that does become, you know, like you have to kind of make different design choices if you want those things on consoles. So that's interesting, especially because like Ron Gilbert's kickstarting that adventure game that they're doing, and that was one of the things he said is like we lost all the other verbs and we just narrowed it down to use. So
Which is a bummer.
yeah, I think it's interesting to see that like it's kind of been a resurgence, and now it's to the point now it's like when people talk about it's like, oh, we want to go back and make, well, we've been making great adventure games. We don't need, it's not like some old thing anymore. For the past couple of years, we've been getting them. It's just what style do you want to go with?
You know what I loved about old adventure games? When you're talking to a person, you just type in what you're saying, and it feels like you're talking to that character.
Right.
And most of the time, it'll be like, I don't know what you're talking about, and you would even giggle then. You know what I mean? And then like if you're just like, you smell bad, and the character's like, you smell bad, you're like, oh my god, this is amazing. You know, even though it's just repeating back to you what you said. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely something there, and you're right, that might be lost in a current generation. It might be hard to be able to say you smell bad to any characters in the new King's Quest game.
Thank goodness that trailer was good though.
It was a good trailer.
Because can you imagine, like, you know, they built that up so much. Ken and Roberta out gave them the award. She hands the hat off.
Let's talk about that actually. Who are Ken and Roberta?
Ken and Roberta Williams are the founders of Sierra Entertainment and the creators of Police Quest and Space Quest and
King's Quest. Yeah.
And I guess produced the Leisure Suit Larry franchise. I guess they published them.
Yeah, I mean they.
I never made that mental connection.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was one of the huge innovators of storytelling in games.
So in the Game Awards, they ran a mini documentary, and I learned a lot of these things that I did not know. Just the way they started.
And she looks like she hasn't changed at all.
Yeah.
Like they showed like some video of her, you know, like right when the game came out, and she's like, well, we just put this game together and why don't you check it out? And then she accepts the award. She's like, well, you know, we've been out of business for 16 years. It's like, never change. It's awesome.
Yeah. Do you think
just
she
such a
misses
unique
making games?
perspective. What?
Do you think she misses making games?
I don't know. I actually mentioned that again to my wife, and she's because I got a little sad actually because she said like specifically we've been out of business. We went out of business 16 years ago, and Amanda thought that was like okay. She's like, oh no, I think she's fine. You know, I think they set out to accomplish what they did and then some. They made all these games. I think they're just loving retirement right now. I was like, I don't know. I got a little. I don't know why I got sad in that moment. I was actually like in the auditorium because you don't normally hear that when somebody accepts an award. They're like, I don't work that much anymore. They're usually just like, oh, I'd like to thank this person, this person. She seems extremely down to earth. She seems like there's no filter there. She's just gonna say what she wants to say.
I want her to be.
Oh yeah.
Games. I want to play more of her games.
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, you can only. I don't know. Can you only make so many games? Do we have people that
You're right.
just
I guess
make games into their 90s and then
eventually,
we have that yet?
I think you
Like-
got to say, I'm George Lucas. I've done the best stuff I'm going to do. You know what? I'm done. You all do that. You all creative people, or maybe it is that. Maybe it's that kind of thing where it's just like, you know, you're
They had a
tapped.
ton of games.
Yeah.
I mean, they were doing that montage. It was like, what are these crazy games I'm looking at right here? So, you know, are you going to be a podcast host all your life, Kyle?
No, probably not. Well, maybe imagine like a
40
really
years from now,
cool.
what happened to that Kyle Bassman in his podcasts? You
There-
should make more of those.
I bet like I'll be so charming as an 80-year-old. Like right now I'm kind of abrasive. It's kind of hard to get into it, but like when I'm 80, it's gonna be this guy is so funny. He has no idea. You know, it's just time for corrections music. It's just like look at this old idiot. Let's talk about
Kyle Bossman, the Larry King of video games.
Nobody will get when I'm 80 something, no one will know who Larry King is.
Yeah.
Isn't that sad? Oh
Yep.
my God. They'll have no idea what that means to be the Larry King.
There'll be some young whippersnapper and they'll be like, you're going to be the Kyle Bossman of video games.
It is next to impossible to leave an impact anymore. You know, it's just like you got to be a president or a horrible person
Or Damiani.
or a Damiani. He's the Damiani of video games. Okay, let's talk about PSX. Let's talk about like that happened. That was a
sweet.
whole thing that
was
just
awesome.
appeared very
Brandon
quickly.
actually went.
Oh, it was rad.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so good.
What made it so good? What makes that rad?
Everything was really accessible. I really enjoyed. I enjoyed me some fanboyism, and it was funny to have. It's one thing if you're at E3 and you kind of hear this, like, you know, the Triforce. You hear the Nintendo, Xbox, Sony arguments about like who's in the lead, who's not, who's making a comeback. And it's funny to like kind of put your ear to the wall and hear like the conversations, and like there's no, maybe a little bit of Nintendo love, no Xbox love at this event whatsoever. Like my favorite quote I heard someone say is, he's like, it's an inferior console with an inferior fan base.
What's that?
And it wasn't like a debate. Like, it was said to a crowd that all nodded and smiled to each other. Yeah, of course. I mean, clearly, that's a fact.
What I love is you use your Nick Plus's voice. As you do
I'm
this.
about to say.
Who's ironically Sony. Oh,
Yeah,
oh, no,
yeah,
there you
was
go.
he not ironic at all,
There's
no.
no irony there whatsoever.
No, it's absolutely inferior.
But it was just, I mean, it was fun to see them like, who in the audience likes the Vita? It's like, duh, of course, you know, yeah, I got it with me. You know?
Yeah.
So it's cool to see. It's one thing if you go to E3 and it's like, oh, we all love games, and it's interesting to go to an event and it's like, no, I love this company, I love this console, I love your catalog, I love all of these franchises. Kratos is walking around and it was like Elvis Presley, man. It's just like, oh my God, I get a picture with Kratos. So many times I turn around and like all the SAC kids were like strolling
Nice.
by. Yeah, they had
Even Oddsack?
they had the four. Yeah, what was he? Which one is he?
The four-legged one, the dog one.
Yeah, he was hopping around. He had like a little kick thing that was going on the back of his legs. He had a little hop that he would do. Kyle just couldn't.
I was
so
doing
bad.
good. I was doing so good. Even Oddsack.
I went. You know whose name I've completely forgotten? Crank.
Ratchet
It's
Spank?
Clank. It's Clank.
No, not Clank. Knack.
Oh, okay.
Knack was there.
Spank was one of your suggestions.
What I wonder if so now if Nick plays Xbox One, his tag is still PS3 is better.
Yeah.
So it's like, like I've been to PAX, and a lot of times like we'll go to PAX or we'll go to an event like that that's different from E3, where it's like no fans can actually go to this, and it's like okay, I can skip that game because I already played that demo because I played it at E3. Drawn to Death, totally new. Battlefield multiplayer mode I'd never seen before. Like there was stuff. If you paid to go to this event, you were playing games that like major people from IGN, GameSpot, Polygon, like that were not in attendance are not playing. So like you were able to get a little bit ahead of the curve there and like jump into the conversation.
Brandon, one of my favorite
On your
things
journalist hat.
is when you went to the Drawn to Death line and were told, no, man, get in line.
Yeah. Which is great because like in something just for people at home that don't know this about Andrea Renee, she knows everyone knows her. It
Okay.
is ridiculous. Every time we go, you can't sit down or stand anywhere for 10 minutes without, oh, hi, Bill, how you doing? You know, like somebody will go by and like, oh, Andrea. And she like wandered up to the Drawn to Death booth and like they weren't having it. She couldn't charm her way into that line.
Yeah.
Or rather charm, my way in.
And at PAX or E3, most of the time you can do that.
Yeah, or people are very eager to do that. Like they'll see if
Absolutely,
you have
yeah.
a business card and they recognize your outlet. It's like, oh my God, please.
Oh yeah, I
Oof,
mean,
get out of line,
this
play this
E3 was ridiculous with the amount of people that are recognizing me and like, hey, come play my game. Like they just
Yeah.
like found me walking down the hall doing something else and are like, come in front of the line and play my game right now.
At PlayStation Experience, they say, this is for the players, get in line.
So the guys who did Drawn to Death were more interested in having fans play it and getting the reaction to them that they
Yeah.
could then in turn take into development
Yeah.
than getting the word out about their game.
That's so cool.
So that's a dream.
It's coming back next year. Y'all want to go?
Hell yeah.
Bloodworth,
great.
do
It
you want to
depends.
go?
If it's on my birthday again, I'm not going.
Okay, and Damiani, do you want to go?
We're not
Depends what's
flying
there.
you out.
Depends what's there.
Yeah.
That's
Why?
a fair point. Why? If you don't want to play any
Like
of the games,
there was not like from everything that was there was nothing that I felt I had to go like to absolutely have to play.
But I guess I'm curious, what is that thing? What is that game that Damiani has to play?
So only Kingdom Hearts or Final Fantasy 15 is playable, or your imaginary Last Guardian actually finally shows up.
Damiani, how do you only want to play those 2 games? How is
At
that
this
it?
moment, Bloodborne's coming out in 3 months. I don't need to play it at like for 10 minutes at an event. I want to play the actual game. I don't need. I personally hate playing preview builds of something at events where you get 15 to maybe 30 minutes max with it, and that's it. It's like, to me, it's part of the job, so that it feels like a job doing that part. But on a personal level, I hate doing that. Like, I just want to play the whole game. I hate being shown or being allowed to play only small snippets. It's like, I just want to play the game. Like, I don't like doing this. Like, I just want to experience it from start to finish. Don't give me a part to play because it's like, whatever. Especially for a game I really want to play.
Like Bloodborne.
But I mean, but it's part of the job. We need to do that to actually report on it and like give our impressions.
Yeah.
So
So you can talk about how tight the gameplay is.
and for other, like, before I ever got to do something like this, that was like the allure. Like, I get to play games early. I get to go to events like E3 and play this stuff. It's cool for like maybe the first year or two in that regards for me. After that, I was like, all right, man, this game comes out in 3 months. Like, why do I need to like play part of it right now?
You're ruining the games for yourself in a weird way, though.
Yeah, I don't want it. I don't want to say spoiled because it's not story stuff. It's like gameplay stuff. It's like, I hate when I play something at E3 and then like that same levels in like the game. I'm like, I already know what to do here. Like, but it's later in the game. It's like not the beginning of the game. It's like, man, like, I kind of wish. It's like sometimes in movie trailers where they do like spoil something. Like, you can connect dots more easily because you saw the trailer. It's like, damn it, why did I see that?
You got to close your eyes at the theater.
Yeah.
Let's talk about. We talked about PSX. Let's talk about the Game Awards. Game Awards happened. Huge success.
yeah.
Let me talk about the best announcement PlayStation Experience.
Okay.
There was a better announcement at the Game Awards, but what's your...
As moderator, I'm officially saying we'll put that conversation on pause. Damiani has something he wants to say.
Because he also asked the question, what would be the best way to end the PlayStation Experience? Because it ended on David Jaffe and
Yeah,
John
and you chose
Jack.
not to answer the question then.
Yeah, because you told me to hold off.
Okay.
So, the greatest troll moment in the history of the universe happened during PlayStation Experience.
I was really
Not a
gonna try.
good announcement,
I thought-
a bad good
I was
announcement.
trying not to bring this up. I really was.
thought
Gonna,
no one could dethrone Kojima for his level of shenanigans. Because that guy puts a lot of thought, a lot of planning into this.
Yeah.
But this was so simple, so basic, but so perfect. So good. Square Enix gets up on stage.
Yeah.
And the
Can I
final-
take a note real quick? Before Square Enix got on stage, they like introduced, and we have somebody coming out, they started playing Mass Effect music. Because Jack Wall resells his songs to music libraries, and somebody just grabbed that track to introduce Square Enix.
I guess playing the FF7.
So I hear
would
Mass
have told
Effect
it.
and then Square Enix, and I'm like, what?
No.
So that
What's
must have
happening?
so that must have
Square
screwed with
Press.
you right there. So he probably thought something else was coming.
'Kay, yeah.
Then you see like Square Enix logo, she's like, this is it. This is what we've been waiting for. What's the big like announcement? You see the Final Fantasy VII logo on there. And you hear Final Fantasy VII, PlayStation 4. It's like, at that point when I was like, damn, God damn you, Square Enix. Why would you remake this game now? Like, no. This is
late.
It was actually, that was like, it was shaping out to be the worst possible announcement. Like, this is gonna be bad. Like, people think they want this. This can't happen. This has to stop. And then in like brilliancy with that laugh, Hashimoto's laugh on stage, he laughed at everyone. Because Square Enix is basically telling everyone, stop asking for a remake of this. Because here's your trailer. Old school footage, you're like, all right, it's gonna morph. It's gonna morph into like HD footage. Nope. It is just straight. It is the PC version or Steam version, I guess, ported to PlayStation 4, and that's your Final Fantasy VII.
Do you think they were legitimately like, oh, they're gonna love this? This would be a cool announcement.
Well,
We
they
should
know,
bring that to
well,
PlayStation.
one, they know people will buy that, and it's 60
Right,
bucks.
but at the announcement, like, do you think?
Oh, no.
Do you think anybody there was like, is this gonna make people upset, or do they just not care,
No.
or like?
I think it was a combination of they don't care, and also they're like, you know what, stop it. Like, we've told everyone, they publicly said, we can't do a Final Fantasy VII HD remake. It's going to take 10 years or some crap like that. They're like, we don't have time for this. Yet people are like, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. This is the year they're going to finally do it. That tech demo, it's going to become a reality. And they did it.
Yeah.
They did
yeah.
it.
I
They
think
trolled
too,
everyone. The amount of like salt and tears. The only way that could have been better is if that's how they ended the PlayStation Experience. They like more dramatic and stuff, and then they end with
It was
that.
basically the end, though. It was
I know.
very close.
It was
to the
close,
end.
but
Yeah.
so it was just slightly off
Yeah.
from the ultimate perfect.
So
troll.
your ideal PlayStation Experience keynote is they save that for the end, and that's how.
that would have
ends.
been the end. That would have been like perfect. They're so good.
The ultimate trolls, it would have been like in reverse. Like it actually starts with a full HD Bahamut, and then like
Oh, that would have been
like
pretty good, too.
retrogrades back to like the original.
That would be trying too hard though at that point. What they did was very simple. And
But I
very
have thought
effective.
about that. Like, how could they have made that even worse?
Yeah.
You know what? I want to give them more money because of this. Like, I want to support a company that has the balls to
So
do
you-
something like
Troll
this.
starter.
So in the spring of 2015, you're going to gladly fork over $16.
Of course, we're gonna have a stream called Final 7 finally
On
comes to
PlayStation 4 remastered.
We're gonna be remastered. We're gonna be like, look
boy.
at these HD visuals, blah blah blah.
I'll watch
All
that stream.
This is gonna be in like 1080,
Yeah.
whatever, with the stupid Mortis behind it
The
or
live
whatever.
stream like swirling in the background, distracting you.
Oh my goodness.
Man. But yeah, I mean, but of course they threw everybody off because like, why would you come all the way out like introduce the Square Enix guy, you know, and if he's not going to make a big announcement. You know, it's like you could have thrown that in there with the Day of the Tentacle announcement.
I think
that
they thought-
barely gotten aside.
I think Damiani's being cynical again. I think they thought that was a big announcement. I don't think that was a, hey, everybody shut up, here's what you get. I think that was like, hey, everybody, here's what we're doing. Aren't you excited?
But then if it was, I can't believe that you wouldn't realize that like that's like, you know, if you have like 8 lions staring at you and you just start like greasing yourself with like, you know, steak. It's like, what are you
And then you throw a
doing?
carrot at them.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the body language, the laugh. Come on, they knew the reaction.
No,
They-
so I think in the crowd, I think the reaction wasn't like it was on the internet. I think in the crowd there were people cheering, and I think when you're in a room of hundreds of cheering people, it feels very good. And I think that's what he was feeling when he's laughing.
No, I think he was like laughing because he
Were
knew it was
people
up.
cheering? You were there in the crowd.
Oh, that's true. You were there.
Yeah, no, it was because I think that I think people couldn't accept it. Even like halfway through the trailer, I think people were like, "It's still gonna change." Like, just like
Yes.
it didn't really dawn on you until like a good long while.
Were people
That's
cheering
like,
at the end of that trailer?
Oh, I don't remember.
There
the
were
end, I don't
great
think so.
gifs that came from the crowd reactions of people like clapping because they like just didn't realize it yet, and they're like, and they would stop clapping like mid clap, like, oh wait, like they didn't give us HD remake. This
I
is
did
just-
not realize until after he left the stage what had really just transpired.
see. It was so good.
It was so good. You're right. It was excellent. A masterwork.
It's pretty good.
Again,
Kojima
it's
has to.
yeah.
Kojima has to step up his game.
I don't know.
The whole
I don't know about
the whole
that,
the
man.
whole David Hayter being
There's
in
no
Phantom
way.
Pain, like it's too telegraphed now. He's gonna have to come up with something better than that.
Oh yeah, PT Child's Play compared to
That's right.
FF7
Like if David Hayter shows up as the voice of like young Solid Snake, like, sorry, we saw that from a mile away. You got to do something better, Kojima.
Damiani, I appreciated that detour, but it is time to talk about the Game Awards again. Turns out Jeff Keighley, who funded this basically, a lot of the Game Awards, lost money on this event.
Where was that said?
He did an interview with Polygon.
Okay.
So direct from the Keighley's mouth. Do you think the Game Awards should happen again next year?
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
And basically his stating is like, he's not even that hurt. You know what I mean? He said it was an
Well, he's-
investment.
Well, he said at the beginning, at the first words out of his mouth, right at the beginning of the show, he's like, "This is an experiment.
Yeah.
This is something I wanted to try." It sounds like, again from his own mouth, it sounds like he started planning it like 3 months ago. It sounded like extremely last minute. As you can maybe tell, I'm not sure there were some audio and video issues during the presentation, none of which was his fault. Like, I don't know if that was like a technical thing. I don't know if there was like some guy in the booth like mashing buttons, being like, change camera, and it wasn't. But like, there were lots of times. Reggie, I remember one. It was like, ladies and gentlemen, Reggie Fils-Aimé. It was before the Zelda at the end, and he like started talking, and everyone was just like, "Where's Reggie? Oh, he's
And then
in
we
the
get a
crowd
camera to
there."
him. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean,
But,
that kind of stuff is all. kind of common. You know, as something starts happening where you have a RF interference on a microphone or something. But and especially anything like that where everybody's got all these devices. I definitely feel like production-wise, it could have been tightened up. In terms of like people weren't getting their prompters and things like that. But I think the tone of it worked well. I think it had a great balance of awards and reveals and the performances. Really great performances there. Like, I mean, what a great way to introduce, the second part of the Banner Saga with, Austin Wintory and all those guys there. And it was a good, classy event for the most part. But it wasn't like formal, It was very, very well done, I think.
Yeah, crazy to me. Like again, that's all just because of Jeff Keighley. Mm-hmm. If he says no, I don't want to do it next year, there won't be a Game Awards next year.
But that's how you do it. If you're gonna set up something for long term, you just do it, and then the next year you go to everybody and you're like, hey, I'd like a little financial support to put this thing together because it benefited you. It benefited you, Activision, you, Electronic Arts, you, Nintendo. Like, I want you to back in because everyone will be here, especially Sony. Like I don't know how much investment they had in the project, but I'm sure a lot of people were in town, for both of those events that weekend, so that worked out for both of them, for Keighley and for Sony. So we've done this before where we'll set up a project, just do one episode of something to pitch more. Be like, okay, well now we have the model for it, so we know how long it took, we know the resources involved, and if we're selling it to somebody, it's not some pie in the sky concept that, it's like, oh, I don't know what we're gonna be doing for that because I've never seen this show before. It's like, now you've seen it, now you know how different this is from the VGAs, and now you can invest in it if you want to.
Here's what I'm scared of. I'm scared of Riot every year doing its World Championships and losing money on it. We hear like, oh, this many people were watching, these many people were in attendance, and they still lose money. I'm scared that maybe it's just not financially viable to do a Game Awards, and I'm curious if you think it ever will be. Like, will it make money next year?
Did Jeff actually give the numbers on views and stuff?
On views, yes. It was almost 2 million. It was like 1.9 people, humans watched it.
You just need somebody to sell that. There's no reason you can't sell that. It should be possible. Yeah.
What, Damiani? What's wrong?
Because watching it, the Twitch numbers, it was roughly doing 5 times as many views as VGX did last year on Twitch.
Yeah.
VGX was on other platforms. This was on YouTube and Twitch only, I believe.
No,
and
it was
then
on
Xbox.
Everything. Even Wii U. He said it. Even on Wii U.
Yeah, he kind of smirked about that. Like, what do you know?
It wasn't on TV though. It wasn't having
Not
to deal
on
with
TV. That's
TV
the
being
important
the
one, right?
premier
But that
place to
actually
watch
makes
it.
it cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
TV time costs ridiculous amounts of money. Twitch allows this to happen without all of those extra needs and other advertisers and stuff. I mean, not being on TV makes this a more affordable show.
I don't know what the numbers were on TV, but across all platforms, if he's doing that much, it's that's huge. Just the Twitch stream alone was equivalent to, or sometimes eclipsing some of the biggest streams on Twitch. And I think the league championships did more than it, but in general is doing more than most of the big league stuff.
Yeah.
So it definitely has the popularity there.
People like it.
It's just converting on it. I mean, I would say I don't know what venue they use there. I don't know how much it cost.
It was wherever Britney plays. It was at the Planet Hollywood Theater.
Because I think
wherever Britney plays.
Because
I don't know if Vegas
tickets and
I don't know
Britney's
enough
all
about
over.
Vegas venues are more expensive than something local, an LA venue or something. I'm gonna imagine probably LA is a little bit more pricey. Vegas has some of the largest convention centers and the most convention space I think of any city, I believe.
So the competition makes it cheaper.
That's why everyone always threatens, we're going to Vegas because it's so easy to move there because they have the space for it. But I don't know how expensive it is, but they could definitely maybe they could trim it down in length, and also
Jeff even openly admits that. Yeah,
but to be fair, as the first time, you should throw everything at it and see what you like, because you might not get a chance to do a 4-hour one again. If that's what everyone really wanted, this would have been the only chance to try it.
Blood, what would you save? What did you love of that show? What would you say we can't cut this?
The thing is, in terms of your big moments and everything, I don't think there's much that needs to be cut in terms of like the types of experiences and things they had there. I just think it's maybe a one by one or just trimming down the amount of talking. But at the same time, that may be a more behind the scenes thing because a lot of times you're talking that much because you're stalling for the stagehands to reset the stage. So
Yeah, they were definitely
without being part of that production, I'm not entirely sure. I don't think that there's like any element that doesn't need to be there. I think you want performances, I think you want reveals, and I think you want awards and time for people to talk without getting rushed off the stage by some orchestra coming up or something like that.
Yeah, there weren't any dumb skits this year. I don't know, like, there was nothing that was like, this is offensive, this is taking too long.
Right.
I don't know what I would cut. Brandon, what would you cut?
I think Before was an example of something that went way too long.
Sure.
You kind of let the guy come out and then he told his story and then
You're
he
right.
showed you images and then you got into the game and then we saw a video and stuff. I always think, I don't know if this would save time, but like one of the big changes is I always want the video first. You know, so like we talked about Human Element last week on Let's All Go to the Trailers, like, or this week rather. So show me the Human Element trailer first. You know, just literally like, okay, thank you very much, applaud, get off the stage after the, you know, go to black, show that. So you've already got all the information in my head, and then, ladies and gentlemen, Robert Bowling, and then he comes out and is like, hey, what you just saw was Human Element, here's kind of why we wanted to make it, you know, it's coming out later this year, so check it out, thanks. And then he leaves. So if he does it beforehand, then I think it's, you want to take a little more time because it's like, I need to set this up. And it's like, you make a video that sets it up, and then you give me like a little more, you know, info after the fact, introduce yourself so I can put a name and a face to the game.
Why I think that's a good idea is like trailers are designed for you to, as a cold, you're watching it cold. That's how most
Right.
trailers are designed.
Right.
At least reveal trailers. And so you're right, I would have rather hopped in that world through the eyes of that trailer before having all of it described to me, the plot even.
The pre-talk
Yeah.
is always like, okay, you know, like that always just brings the pace down of every single event. Whereas like when you're talking, it's like, okay, I'm filling in the blanks of the thing I just saw. Whereas like if you're just talking, it's like, I'm just waiting for you to get to the point here.
Yeah,
Before
well,
I'm like,
I-
oh, now I'm interested. Okay, cool, you just talked about it finally.
I also think related to that is, you know, as great as the Williams thing was, Ken and Roberta, like they openly said that they didn't know what was in the video.
Right.
So they didn't know if they were repeating themselves.
Right.
And so that was just kind of a production thing. It was like, yeah, you should have given them some insight on what was going on.
I really liked the side awards where it would just go to Keeley on the side and he'd already have the winner there and hand it to
Yeah.
him. Like that was a great way to not kill time, but to cut time down.
Yeah.
And there were some
Yeah,
awards.
well, again, to smooth out that transition of what's happening on stage.
And there were
right
some
now.
awards. Actually, the guys from GTA bumped into me when we were shooting on the floor, and they're like, "Did we win remaster?" I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know. They're like, "Where do we go to find that out?" Because it went.
Yeah.
That didn't
The
happen during the
website.
show, did it? I'm
did
like,
not,
"Oh, I
no.
didn't
Those
miss
sort
the
of
award."
things should have, yeah, if they're trying to fill time, they should have had those packages to fill that kind of time. They also should have seated potential winners in better places. Watching guys walk all over the freaking place to get to the stage was not really a great timing
However,
moment.
I enjoyed watching Reggie do his victory walk. It was very long, but he was so proud.
For Mario Kart.
Yeah. Maybe for best developer, actually. I think they may have given. Is that what he? No, he walked.
remember Mario
He walked
Kart,
up
yeah.
for Mario Kart
Because he was he's like this is actually very special for us because every time I'm totally paraphrasing, but he's like, but every time we make a game, we really try to make it awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks. And it's like,
It was
oh,
very
so
short.
that's why it's special.
It was not-
because
yeah.
you wanted all the other games you made this year. You didn't really give a crap about, but Mario Kart 8, we specifically wanted
You got to make that one awesome.
Game.
Yeah.
Um,
You know what's really funny? Thinking of the side awards, when Destiny won for best score, they had to split up how to give it away, because poor Marty, you know, basically excommunicated.
Right.
So he had to get his version of that trophy like 5 minutes after the other guys who were there for Destiny for also best online
Right.
experience. That was so weird,
yeah.
real uncomfortable. It was like it's a divorce basically.
So yeah, I don't know if I would really like, okay, that in its entirety, pull it, you know, but just speed things up in general. Speed the walking time and speed the, I need to prep this before you watch it, and now you're watching it and just...
But don't
it's
rush people off
repetitive.
of the stage.
To conclude this segment, I want to do yes or no and why.
I just want to point out, they actually did something the Academy Awards never do, where the two guys went up for Far Cry, one guy made his award, and then another guy stepped in and the music went bump, bump, and he started talking and it stopped.
Yeah.
The music was like, wait, What are you gonna say? Okay, now I'll start playing again. The Academy Awards would just be like, sorry,
Yeah, they do.
the train's left the station.
That's
so-
the power of online.
Yeah, I was impressed with that.
So we'll do yes or no and why. Man, we talked about those two events for a very long time. Why do I even make an outline? Okay. Yes or no and why. Was PSX a success? Brandon
Yes.
Jones. Why?
Because I did not see anyone there that was not having an incredible amount of time, incredibly fun time.
Wait, wake up.
Incredibly fun time.
Okay. Daniel Bloodworth. Was PSX a success?
Yes.
Why?
It mobilized their fan base. They had a lot of great things to reveal there. It was an exciting weekend, and it put the focus on Sony. And a lot of people pointed that out. They're why wasn't Microsoft at the Game Awards? They kind of missed an opportunity to feel like they were relevant. Now here's an event nobody was really expecting to happen, but because it's Sony's event, they have all the limelight, they have all the attention.
I never do this. I have another question. What do you mean by mobilized their fan base?
I mean, they literally moved their fan base to Vegas to get together and be PlayStation fans together. And that's a huge thing, I mean, you guys had tons of people walking up and saying hi to you. Imagine that for David Jaffe and all the other, PlayStation guys running around. Adam Boyes, Shu, I'm sure there's some selfies out there.
Yeah, things you remember forever. Michael Damiani, PSX, success?
Yeah, because it was a way for Sony to actually interact with their fan base and community and build that up in a way that is more focused for their brand. And it wasn't just the game announcements. During the press conference, they had a press conference. They had the show floor. They also had panels. They gave fans access to developers for some of their favorite series to hear them talk about them, and then ask them questions at the end. That's great. Nintendo used to do a Nintendo World, right? Was what it was called.
You're talking about
Space World. Jeez, I can't believe it. Well, it was called Nintendo World when we came out, right? They changed it.
I think for 1 year.
1 year it was called Nintendo World, but it was called Space World before. I can't believe I forgot that. But Nintendo used to do Space World. But it was just mostly a show floor, though. I don't believe they had fans getting to go or attendees getting to go to developer panels and stuff like that.
The panels were really cool.
That's that. It was a mini it was a convention for it. It wasn't just a press conference. It wasn't sharing it with an E3 or a Comic-Con. It was just their thing. And I feel Microsoft and Nintendo should try and do something similar to that. I think Nintendo could definitely do it because they have the dedicated fan base. But other companies do it. There's BlizzCon for Blizzard. This welcome to building up your fan base and pleasing them. It was perfect.
Welcome. I like that. Okay, the Game Awards. Was that a success? Yes or no and why? Brandon Jones.
Yes, because there was nobody there in attendance saying anything on stage that should not have been there.
Wow.
And that was the problem with the old VGAs. It was
Sure.
just why are you here? What?
Daniel Butterworth. Yes or no and why?
Yes, and I'd say the same thing. And then with the viewer numbers, obviously it was a success for sure.
Can't debate those numbers. Michael Damiani. Yes or no and why?
Yes, because it was way better than any previous than last year's VGX or any VGA I can remember. And they can only go up from here as long as Keighley has control of it. Just trim, just polish it a bit. Just look at the cost. I'm sure he's a smart guy. He's gonna figure out a way to reduce the cost, but not make it compromise anything like that.
Yeah.
And as you said, it sounded like he only planned it a few months ago.
Right.
Having a whole year now to plan it out, I think he could.
Hasn't
he can
talked
make it
about
work.
new Zelda gameplay once. This whole conversation.
Why did you even?
I forgot that happened. Okay, we're gonna stop that segment real quick. We have to address it.
Can we talk about how uncomfortable and weird that was?
What part was uncomfortable?
The two of them him being I see that Link can jump off his horse. It's I'm sure you didn't know that, Miyamoto. I'm sure Miyamoto for the first time is interesting new development that you've added to this Legend of Zelda game.
What's funny is
Link jumping off his horse.
I think if you read a lot of Iwata Asks, you just get used to that tone of just saying things both people know to each other.
So yeah, I get that. Yeah, that's just a Nintendo thing. But
It was
I thought
a
that was
weird thing to cut away to a camera shot, over his shoulder camera shot, basically, that of the game playing on a television.
You're right, because traditionally that's a huge trailer. Here's God of War reveal. Here, God of War 3 is coming. Here's this huge trailer. Instead, one still shot.
It was fun being in the
Yeah.
room because like some events, you get like, oh, really excited for during the Metal Gear Online trailer, people were talking and laughing and like whispering to each other and stuff. Dead silence during Zelda. Like you tell the entire room was like, shut up. Like, oh my God, what is this? When they zoomed in on the map, I was like, oh my, here we go. That GIF right there is gonna blow up all over the place where people are like, he's like, oh yeah, you can zoom out with the zoom out button. It's like, press it.
Yeah,
Zoom out.
and he did, and the world's huge. Damiani, give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down
On what?
Zelda.
on what you saw. Okay, listeners, the thumb is extended at medium. It's tilting down. Oh, it goes up! It goes up! Thumbs up. Why? Why was it a thumbs up?
No, I mean, the only thing, I agree, the only thing that bummed me out is like, I thought they were just introducing it that way. Like, oh, look, not only do we have Zelda at this thing, which, the way Jeff was talking all night, it was like, it's Metroid or Zelda.
Yeah.
Like, one of the two things is going to be there. Which one is it?
Yeah,
Let's
it
get
was very clear. I mean, even like I was seeing like tweets getting retweeted from some of the Treehouse guys, and I'm like,
Yeah.
why are they tweeting about this?
Yeah. it was
They don't get allowed to tweet about things.
Yeah, they were definitely
Yeah,
wanting
right.
people. They were doing it because they wanted people to tune in at that point.
Yeah.
But I thought they were just introducing it that way. It's like, not only do we have Zelda here, like we got Miyamoto and Aonuma like in a video for this award show. Like we got them. It wasn't Nintendo to send us a trailer. Like everyone's in on this. So I was like, this is huge. And I thought it was just going to go to the direct feed eventually, and it just
Right.
didn't. And I was like, huh.
I think it's not ready for direct feed.
So the only thing I can think of is like there was some backlash to people whining about the textures on like the rocks when they zoomed in on the telescope, whatever device. Like when we were watching, like, oh man, it's getting kind of framey here. Like it's clearly like you're like, oh, it might be like the gamepad is janky. I'm like, I think it's like the frame rate's kind of bad with the draw distance, and some of those textures on the trees and the distance like looked like. But aside from like that, like it proved it was like real. Like they kept saying the E3 thing this year was like, oh, that's real time, it's real. And we're like, do we really trust that or not? This was like, this is clearly real. They're showing a lot of flaws here. At the same time, it's running.
Yeah.
And for as many times as like there were those like issues, there were just the parts where running through like the field, you come through like a small like woods. It was like really densely compact. I was like, all right, I'm seeing a lot of stuff I like here. Like running into the horse and the horse reacted. I was like, oh look,
Oh, the herd of horses?
Remember the
Oh my
whole
God.
thing? He said like, hey, if you just like want to hold down a button to make it auto trot,
Yeah.
your horse won't be stupid and run into objects.
Because
Like,
as we know, horses
and
don't run into trees. Don't,
Yeah, he
no, they
said-
don't actually.
Well, in Shadow of the Colossus, actually, one of the
That's
tricks is,
uncanny.
I don't know if this is intentional in Shadow of the Colossus, but if you hold down the button to just trot, the Argo, oh my
Yeah.
gosh,
Agro.
we'll
Agro.
actually kind of remotely smart follow paths and just take you down. Like if it's narrow, he'll kind of navigate it for you. It's a little clunky, but he still does this. Like, yeah, a horse wouldn't just run into a wall like that. If it just implied to me, there's gonna be a lot of traveling in this game. There might be times where you just want to either need to focus on other stuff. So I don't need to be looking where I'm riding. I just want to check out the stuff. I need to be scoping the landscape. Like that's pretty cool. I like that.
It's so exciting. It's so exciting to see a big, huge.
A lot of
game.
people were complaining that there was no density in terms of like enemies or denizens or enough animals, and I'm like, I think they showed us very specific parts because you saw at this point there are a lot of fans who have broken down the locations and are already starting to piece together like geographically where they were and like objects and landmarks in the distance.
Yeah, just like Brandon
The
guessed.
people are trying to like start to deconstruct it a little bit, and I think they did just enough to like get people interested in it without spoiling anything about like the world itself. Like, where's Hyrule Castle? Where's an actual dungeon? Like when they got up to that rocks formation, he goes, I think we're near a dungeon. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're actually gonna show us a dungeon? Like, no, they're not. They're not gonna do that yet. Like they showed us enough of the field to like explain to you it's a huge open world. You're going to be able to explore a seamless giant landmass again. We haven't seen this. We haven't seen this in a while for a
Since
Zelda game.
NES.
Since it's been well, even NES, the screen scrolled. We haven't seen, as far as we know. I don't know if they commented that if there's going to be any loading. Like,
Oh yeah, I doubt it.
Do you go into another zone? I think the dungeons. Like, it'll be amazing to
Probably
see if the
loading
dungeons.
Yeah.
That could be, but they could also just maybe have some clever transition where you walk down a hallway and it like loads it in like that.
I think because of the telescope, because of how far we could see ahead, I think there will be no loading screens on that world map.
So
We should, you know what? We should do a whole separate podcast where we just talk about Zelda.
But, I mean, the one,
Give me your final
They
thought.
showed you one new thing. They showed you the dismounting in the slow mo where you get one shot, like you get to like line up and shoot something, and then it returns to normal speed. They showed you that.
Which they kind of teased in the first trailer.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah,
he jumps
that's
off
the
phone.
final shot. So now, and the other thing they're clearly showing is they're showing him using bow and arrow.
I asked for a final thought.
We're not seeing sword yet.
No sword.
Is that hinting at something in the game? I don't know.
So, oh god, remember the E3 trailer. The arrow actually seemed like the special weapon. It like transformed in things. It'd be cool if like that's your primary weapon in this game is the arrow.
Like talking with people, could you maybe pick a discipline for Link? Like, can Link be a swordsman? Or a
don't
swords
get me
person?
started. That's such a good
Could
idea.
you be an archer? Could you be something else, like a magic user?
Mage. Yes.
'Cause remember-
I get a flame rod, and that is my primary weapon.
Link has different skill sets based on the weapon
Yes.
Link's using.
Oh my god.
Who knows?
Damiani. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
That's it. All right. Let's talk about bets. Let's do bets. That's you know what we got to have a Zelda podcast where we just talk about cool Zelda ideas for an hour. Okay. So
Can we please start that the week after he moves to Texas? The official Game Trailers Weekly Zelda podcast. Too bad Damiani's not around.
but we'll have a
anymore.
framed picture of him in the back.
Okay.
So let's talk. Oh yeah, this is a boy. Oh boy. The NPDs. This is where we get our software and hardware sales in the U.S. Always come out on Thursday, so we always just miss it at the end of recording these. However, what I want to know is, at this point next week, I'm going to go to NeoGAF. I'm going to look at the thread for the results of the November 2014 NPDs. How many pages, regular pages, because I know Damiani does big pages, how many pages will this thread be long? The October NPD results thread is 98 pages
Currently.
currently.
So that's like a month later, but we're talking about a week after. Mm-hmm. So probably won't be that much.
Well, it's a big month because this is the month that everyone assumes that the Xbox One, maybe myself even, will have beaten the PS4. Hasn't since December.
So you said how many pages is going to be, right?
Yeah,
How many?
regular pages.
So posts set to how many posts per page?
Oh, I don't know.
So that's the thing, because like mine, I have it set to 100
Well,
posts.
base it off that 98. Use that 98 as your gauge. Currently,
Yeah, we have.
October
yeah,
has
come on.
98 regular pages.
Oh, okay.
How many pages are we talking about?
Bloodworth, it's your turn to go first or last.
Oh, I'll go first. I'm gonna go with 102.
102 pages of
And
comments
this is after a week, right?
after a week. Brandon Jones.
50.
Brandon, I can already tell you it's going to be 50 at the end of the day.
Right. I'm not in it to win it, Kyle.
Gentlemen, 250.
Whoa.
Damiani?
I don't even know how. Can they go up to 250?
That's a good question.
I think
That's the thread
If,
gets
if it
locked
gets
at that point?
if it gets a second thread, we'll count those.
Okay.
I am going to. So you picked
102.
2, and you picked 50.
Yeah.
Kyle picked an insane amount. That's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Crap.
Hold on.
I'm gonna
While
pick-
he thinks, Damiani, this is your last chance to win a bet, man. This is it, dude. Make
Brandon's
this
just
count.
sleeping now.
That man right there, our behind the scenes man, Ian Hank, is giving the most glorious bet that I could finish off with.
What's your bet?
78 pages.
78. Those have been your lucky numbers. You can't deny it. Let me lock those in. Okay, let's talk about last week's bet. Last week, how many PlayStation 4 games will start with the word "the" on its Wikipedia page?
Oh yeah, it has to be determined on that because I know they announced at least one with the word "the."
What is the one that they announced with it?
I don't know. I was looking at the announcements and I saw one had "the" in
I
it.
think it's The Forest.
Oh, okay.
I was looking at the list and I couldn't even tell what's new. I think The Forest was announced. I'm not sure. 26 is the number on Wikipedia of the games that start with "the." The winning bet belongs to Brandon Jones,
Whoa.
who says, "I'm not in it to win it."
Yeah.
There you go. You win all the time.
Well, see, now I feel really great when I win, you know? So
I feel
I'm
like-
not, if you're not committed to it and you win, it's like, oh, well, all right.
Brandon, last like 3 months, you're winning 2 out of 3 bets. You're on an incredible run.
See, I didn't want you to say that. See, now that it's out there in the air, now it's just all...
No, it's fine. You
now
bet
it's all
50.
bad,
We know you're not winning next week.
clearly.
But anyway, Brandon, for winning, you get to plug any video you want and also close us out.
All right. I will plug a video called Bonus Round. What?
I don't know.
What?
Okay, go ahead.
Because I'm on it.
Oh, I didn't know you're on bonus
Actually,
round.
I don't know if I'm on. No, I won't be on this Sundays, but I'll still plug it. Darn it! It's at Bonus Round is at. I was there. I was in attendance. And you know, as we do on Bonus Round, when we get people together, we'll shoot 4 episodes. And then those 4 episodes are played out weekly throughout the month. I will be in episode 3 of this round of Bonus Round, but I will not be in this first one. But we got a really good crew. We got Mr. Pachter, Adam Boyes, and of course Mr. Keeley. And Adam Boyes is the head of third party. Who's the head of first party?
That's Mr. Shuhei Yoshida.
Scott Rohde was the other guy.
Oh, okay.
And I
Wait, so what's
filled in for
Rhodey's
him.
title then?
It's really long.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Good question. We're actually like officially figuring that out. We want to make sure we got that right.
So you were standing toe to toe with these giants.
I was standing in between Michael Pachter and,
Michael
Adam
Pachter,
Boyes,
yeah.
talking about Sony stuff.
Speaking of
I dissed
these
No Man's
giants,
Sky
he
right
is-
in front of Adam Boyes. It was awesome.
Wow.
He's talking about physically. Adam Boyes is huge.
You know what? I didn't know until they did their dumb comedy videos. They did Between Shoe Ferns. It's just Boyes. This
Yeah.
whole time, I said to his face, Boyes. I'm like, here's Adam Boyes. That's not right. It's
Yeah,
Boyes.
but that E is, it's tricky.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just Boyes.
Canadian.
Yeah, watch Bonus Round. Fun. And just all of our coverage in general from PSX, because we shot a lot in that little space. And that was really fun to have like a little cordoned off area.
Follow-up question: did you get any of those men to laugh? Did they say, you know what, Brandon Jones is a cool guy?
I think no, but one thing that was really funny that is not an answer to that question at all, but I'm gonna throw it out there anyway.
Yeah, sure.
It was a pleasure to go. I went to the Disney Infinity panel the next day, and Adam Boyes showed up, and he had totally lost his voice.
From shouting?
Like, just hosting panels and talking about stuff. And like, he showed up to Disney later, and like, John Vignacchi asked him a question. He was like, "Well, what we really wanted to do with it was like, oh no, poor guy." And he says, he's like, that always happens. He's like, it happens at E3, happens at TGS.
At events,
He's
you
like,
got to be shouting.
Yeah.
Got to be shouting.
So
Cool.
that was a pleasure. Yeah, Bonus Round, check it out. These are all of our Twitter handles that you can reach us on Twitter. And follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. Say hi to us in the comments.
What about Facebook? That's a new one.
Yeah, we
You've
have a
never said
Facebook
follow
page.
us on Facebook.
I see it all the time.
Game
Trailers.
Trailers Facebook.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Do you want people?
Yeah, don't try to friend us.
Well,
Just follow us on Twitter.
Follow Game Trailers. Facebook.com/Game Trailers. You know.
but if you want to be friends with Brandon Jones on Facebook, it couldn't hurt to send him a request.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm the only Brandon Jones on Facebook. Good luck finding me. Check out our Twitch channel and all the fun stuff that we do. And of course, GT Time next week. Tune in. Thanks, everybody.
I love.